when he was putting in perspective earlier, something firstly along the lines of you know uh, expectations, relationship between the leaders and the people. The benchmark upon which either political activity or leadership is supposed to be based upon. Even that narrative in itself is not clear. The primary role of a political actor in leading society is to raise the consciousness of the people for them to understand, the things that they need to, the things that affect them, so that they'll be able to move in a direction that stays clear of their problems and moving towards a solution. Because the level of education, the level of understanding, the different social experiences of all these different groups, it has to be something that we're constantly doing a lot of consensus building towards a unified common construct that you know takes into cognizance what we share in common, all of us, and then before you talk about what divides us. So you see the lack of clarity in expression. It kind of subsumes completely unlike things in the same thing. And two people sit down, they have a discussion, they use certain words that are so ambiguous that they mean completely opposing things, but they totally agree with each other because they don't drill down to the details of what they say.
Buzzwords.
Kind of, yeah. So I think if you talk about, like, okay, like you hear a lot of times people telling you things like the northern interest. I've been hearing that since I was a child, but I'm yet to understand what exactly what the northern interest is.
But there's been a lot of talk about the North having an agenda to conquer all the way to.
Well, that's a brilliant thing, in the sense that if you refuse to define the terms that you use all the time, nature abhors vacuum, so they get filled by a different kind of punctuation. It's like the result of running an opaque society or system. If I don't know what's going on here, and you've closed all the windows and I'm hearing nothing that's happening, I could just decide to say the most preposterous things are probably happening. Then you have a choice. You either come out and tell the truth to debunk the rumors that are circulating around, or you will have to live with whatever it is that is being filled out. The notion about the intention of northern leaders to Islamize the entire country and all of those things. The question is that look at what they're doing on ground. What are they doing to Islamize even their own backyards? The supposed application of Sharia, starting from San Francisco a couple of years ago to now, what has happened? What has it changed? The issue is that you cannot build something from nothing, and the foundations that you need to be able to actualize the things which we need are not in place. And the confusion that is created as a result of all these things makes it impossible for you, for especially the younger people in the country,
yes,
especially with the bad education system inside, and then the fact that the atmosphere has been charged deliberately and chaos has been created. And once this confusion is there, those who want to control the systems, it's easier for them to continue doing everything they're doing under the banner of that chaos. Because the moment you put sanity inside everything, there's transparency in what government is doing. There's curtailment of wide discretionary powers. And people, kind of like make the leaders to look, we understand that you want to take Nigeria to the next level. We understand that. Use any kind of buzzword you want for the mantra of what you're trying to achieve. Forget about all of those things. Hold people accountable to practical steps that they're taking towards the things that they claim. You'll see somebody, on the road to, he's on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and you're asking the guy where he's going, and he tells you he's going to Seme, he's going to Benin Republic through Seme border. It's completely different directions. And constantly, people find it very easy to not to make a correlation between steps that are being taken and the supposed destinations that people want to be carried into. It's really sad. It's really, really sad that there are more things that unite us than the things that divide us. And we're operating in an upside down fashion where there's a primacy of self as opposed to the primacy of maybe a family. There's a primacy of the family nucleated as opposed to an extended family. There's a primacy on extended family and personal affinity, as opposed to the maybe like a ward or like an area where people live. So what we constantly have is the build-up that starts from the individual. So if I have priorities primarily focused on getting what I want first at the expense of my family, and what my family wants at the expense of my extended family, and what my extended family needs at the expense of the rest of society. So by the time you drill down all of that, you understand that we're operating in largely an upside down fashion. It is okay for me to take responsibility for myself and my family first before someone else, but that is a private arrangement. But within the public sphere, they ought to be the most important things that are primary should be the things that hold all Nigerians together. Because the things that we all share are supposed to be more important than the individual peculiarities of the so-called ethnic nationalities making up the country. Your peculiarities cannot be more important than what all of us share in common. So, the refusal for us to understand that the starting point ought to be, especially for us, our generation now, take advantage of the unique things our generation holds as those that grew up largely during the military era, where the experiments on nationalism and the policies, I think, affected us more positively than any other group. I believe we are the least tribalized age demographic in the country because of the unity schools. We all have adopted brothers from all over the country, people who speak different languages and all that, and we have a better understanding of this country. And I think we have a greater love for this country than both the ascendant and the descendant class. And we should be the ones that should take responsibility in creating the identity of what it means to be a Nigerian first. And to understand that you should aspire to an identity that's greater to what you inherited. There is pride and dignity in Irish Americans, for example, or Italian Americans. They're proud of the fact that they originally came from somewhere that is what they came to contribute. But they've understood the importance of creating an identity that is even greater than what you inherited. I mean, our forefathers were not in any way static people. They were part and parcel of a social dynamism and evolution over the period of years. Things always change. That notion that if something is traditional, it's meant to be static, like sticking to a traditional requirement, like adhering to your values and everything, means that you have to proceed going forward by looking at the past, more or less putting your, forgive my French, your ass to the future. No, it's for you to understand what was good from the social evolution of your own people within an ethnic perspective, and what you can contribute in the tapestry to create an identity that is even greater than that. There are things that each of the 300 or so ethnic nationalities in the country, on a social perspective, there are things that that group of people, their experience, the history of that group, and their social evolution and history has probably given them a level of proficiency regarding a certain quality that all of us can learn from. So if the Igbos are best at doing this, there's no reason why the Hausas should spend another 100 years in trying to improve that particular social reality. Drop what you're doing and copy the Igbos.
Sorry, we're going to take a short commercial break.